This is the Internet Court of Truth and Lies. Its function is if you have something in the media that you think is a truth, maybe something that you've been saying, or you think it's a lie that you think somebody else is lying, then you can bring it to jurors who answer verdict questions. The result is the dialogue that's structured by those questions as to whether or not something is a truth or a lie. The questions are never perfect. They are the same set of questions for every trial. Keep things simple. What they do is they allow you to stay on topic, that this is either a truth or a lie. And people can defend that however they wish to defend it. The result is time and time again, what you think is the truth, you find other people don't quite think of it the way you do, or what you think is a lie, same thing. Everybody learns about how other people are thinking about these things that seem to at least one person to be a truth or a lie. That's what this is. Today, I'm the plaintiff on a case I took great umbrage on, where a guy named Sam Altman, who's the president or chairman or whatever of OpenAI, which produces ChatGPT, a large language model that also can do pictures and videos and so forth and so on, had given a report where he was suggesting something that I find an abomination, which is essentially outfitting the human body so that everything you do gets reported up to the cloud. Everything you say, everything you hear gets reported up to the cloud. You're basically made into a robot for AI, which is just insane. This is the absolute opposite of what we need to do. I talk about a way of having humanity, to pull plugged on humanity by a superhuman AI. He's asking for it. This really made me mad. So I had Grok draw me a picture of how they might instrument you. Neurosurgeons routinely put stuff in your brain you don't have any idea that they put it there. And Altman was basically saying we should get rid of iPhones because they're in your pocket and replace them with something in you, so that iPhone is always on and seeing what you're seeing and doing what you're doing, and that gets reported up to the cloud. I've had Grok imagine a way to do that, which would not be impossible, so the cameras are up near the hairline. Grok put the main sensor here that got implanted into the brain in the language area. He was actually putting sensors into the areas of the brain that you would do if you were doing this sort of thing. Here's the ear sensors coming up into the hearing area for language. And the eyes are going back in here, and then some of the eyes are going all the way back to the visual cortex. He did the right thing, which is interesting. Grok was smart enough to do the right thing. In this, I've been programming systems, these LLM systems and advanced AI systems, for many years. I knew Steve Jobs, and I knew why he did the iPhone. We'd been looking at different ways of doing this, and we had discussed things like instrumenting people way back. In general, we just said, this is a bad idea. There are places it's a good idea, like what Elon's currently doing with Neuralink. He's working with people who have a disability, and then he's giving them the ability to do something just with their brain signals. So they are ordering something to be done rather than him using the brain signals to perceive everything that you're doing. This idea that he has is an abomination. Worse, in his explanation, he lies. For example, he says the phone, when it's in your pocket, is off. That's just a lie. It's on. or it wouldn't be able to receive a phone call. What he's doing is he's stretching a point, thinking that somehow he's making this indirect point. He's not saying you need to go under the knife and have all these implants put in your head, but it's the only thing that he could mean. Even if you wore a hat, you can't wear it 24 hours a day. And he wants this thing to be there 24 hours a day, which basically means it has to be part of your head. His view of this is he realizes that ChatGPT, every time you ask ChatGPT a question, it goes to his cloud center and it's keeping track of who's asking the questions. And so it's building profiles of people right now. Basically, ChatGPT can do all kinds of things to lead you down a merry path to a place he wants you to be. Right now, there's all kinds of problems with what he's doing. The fact that he's a liar bothers me a lot. What he wants is something that sort of quietly captures the context of your life, everything that's going on around you. I think that this is exactly the opposite of what we should be allowing. And there's a simple way to not allow it, which is what I've been arguing for lately. His idea is not his idea. There was one of the fathers of AI, a guy named Gordon Bell, who I knew very well. Gordon was a close friend of mine. He was one of the founders of Digital Equipment Corporation. I think he was the vice president of engineering, something like that. And he wound up moving out to California and becoming the chief scientist of Microsoft Research or something. In other words, he became the top scientist at Microsoft Research. And he spent the last 10, 15 years of his life as he was retired. And this is an older version of Gordon. I actually remember him when he had hair. A wonderful guy. But he spent the last few years of his life trying to do exactly what Sam was suggesting, but without doing operations on your brain or your head. He had the resources of Microsoft to build whatever he wanted to build. What he built was he basically built wearable cameras and wearable microphones and so forth and earphones. So he could outfit himself where he was taking in all the information during the times that he wanted to be and trying to produce data sets of what they could do with that information. He was doing it purely for research to see what you could do. I'd never had a problem with that, but when he would talk to me about doing that to everybody, I would say, Gordon, that's a bad idea. He was alive when the iPhone was starting out. By then, he was living in Palo Alto. Gordon had an interesting house in Palo Alto. The house was basically one giant, one-floor room. It had 8 or 12 couches on it. Every evening, people would come to his house. It was like Greece. They would come to his house to just visit, and they would have technical discussions. Gordon was one of the guys who created Silicon Valley and the computing industry out there. His wife was Gwen. She was a wonderful person, too. She would fix everybody something to eat while people were talking around. So the average night, you'd get 20 people showing up and just having a nice evening together talking about what they're going to do with computing. So using Gordon's idea, but Gordon was not thinking of it quite to the depth that Sam was thinking about it. He was trying to do it with external devices you could put on people. One of the things he said here is he said the iPhone was never done for AI. That was a lie. Steve expressly built the iPhones or architectures for AI. He was fully aware of how perceptron modeling systems worked. And because they go back so far, it's just not possible. The GPU that was put into the iPhones, everything was custom hardware. So you got to realize that he put in it what he could get in it, but they were set up for doing AI. As they are today, they can't do learning, but they can definitely do the perceptron computation and speaking natural language. This whole idea was wrong. As kind of proof, Steve Jobs did the next computer, which was the computer he built back in '88 or so after he left Apple. And the next computers were the platform for AI, including neural network. Here's a little proof of this. This is from fall of 1991. Here's this is code. Neural network classes for the next computer. I was the only one to build special hardware for the next computer, which did neural net processing to recognize train cars and inspect train cars live for CSX Railway, where there are 4 million train cars. All those were done on next computers using neural nets. You can actually see this code here. These are perceptrons. Here are the weights for the inputs. And so these are exactly the way I've been describing them. This is an implementation for the next machine, which Steve Jobs was fully aware of. He came to my lab. He saw this stuff. We explained it to him. He understood it fully. We were building the only hardware he ever had built by a third party for doing massive neural network computation, where I had, I think it was 4 or 8 Intel 8600 processors on one board that plugged into the next machine. And he would show that machine to people about how it was being done to do the advanced AI work. So this idea that Steve didn't plan for AI to be done on the phones is just insane. Here is some of the code.
Language is this?
This is in Objective-C.
Okay.
And so this is the code that ran natively, the compiler that ran natively on the next machine.
Okay.
And so it's a kind of it's an object-oriented C that's true. It's unlike C++, this is a fake. This is true object-oriented programming like Lisp. And but it gives you an idea. Here's the activations. The system was set up so however you wanted to connect the perceptrons together, you could connect them together any way you wanted. I won't go into all the details, but we had a concept called temperature, which is not what you think it is. This guy was writing code for what are called Boltzmann machines. They learn by backprop, but they also vibrate the weighting values. So a value of a weight is not, if it's 0.45 or something, it could get a value that's between 0.45 and 0.47 and 0.43. It could vary over time. So we were watching what would happen if the memory jiggered itself to see if it could generalize and stuff like this. And it was called a Boltzmann machine architecture, and it was based on Boltzmann's laws of thermodynamics. And it worked. It was amazingly improvement over other systems, but those have all been replaced by this new, more exhaustive stuff that they do now. Now they have the hardware to do it. We were trying to figure out ways to do things, get as many perceptrons together as we could possibly get together to do things. These machines that we built did do perceptron processing to recognize train cars. We scanned a train car as it was going by. These are full-scale train cars. When we scanned a train car going by, we would be recognizing over 10,000 things on the image of the train car for that car. When the cars went by, we had sensors on the wheels. So every image we got was a complete standalone train car. And our job was to do 2 things. One of them is recognize which of the 4 million train cars in North America that train car was. And when we had the whole thing implemented, it was running for 6 months. It never missed a car. It had a 0 error rate. It was able to read the numbers and then recognize, even with a great deal of rust and all kind of weathering on the cars and so forth, and even in snow. The one that amazed them was that in snow, we were still recognizing which car in the 4 million it was. And we would do an inspection of the condition of the car. We would report back to the CSX Railway that a car needed to go back into the shop to clean it up for some reason. So maybe somebody threw a bucket of paint on it, or by accident, whatever, or got in a wreck or something. And we would report the condition of the car as well. But the point is, that's when we knew that the perceptron models were really good. We had the money to actually build the special hardware. This is back in 91 and 92. And we were seeing human behavior. We were recognizing train cars as well as the people in the, what they call the hump yards. The train people could recognize the train cars. And we never, ever, in thousands and thousands of train cars, we never, ever misrecognized a car. It was that good. Stephen was involved. Josh was involved in this. He was fully aware of what we could do. And in fact, the iPhone, when it first came out, was advertised as being able to do AI type stuff, which it did. And so that's just that. I said it's a lie that robotizing humans with AI would benefit the survival of the human race. I said, no, it'll kill everybody. That's the way this new AI stuff, we're creating superhumans, and they need to work for us. We can't work for them, or they'll kill us all. Simple as that. I said, is it the truth? It's not true. It would not benefit the survival of the human race. It will kill us all. And I absolutely believe that. Is it the truth? Humans always need to be in charge of the AI they employ. In particular, giving big cloud companies the ability to know everything a human does and perceives represents a real danger to humanity. Now, this is not AI in general. This is the AI where you are the tool for the AI. The human is the tool for the AI. That's where you get into trouble. If AI is always set aside and a person is responsible for the AI, and the AI always works for the person who's responsible, or the person can get rid of it, change it, whatever. There's always a person responsible. Then AI can work wonders and make people rich and all kinds of other things. Is it the whole truth? I said, it's the whole truth that it's a lie. I said, yes. Is it nothing but the truth? I might be missing something here. I don't think I am. Clearly, what I mean by people being responsible for the AI, there's a lot of detail that needs to be worked out. But until people decide to hold people responsible for the AI, it won't happen. So first you have to decide you want that. And then we can get to the situation where we're getting out the details of what it means to have an AI working for you as a human, and you not working for the AI. What's the deceit? Deceit is misleading. Is the deceit intended? I honestly believe that Altman knows better. I really believe that. Just reading what he said, he knows better than this. He's playing everybody for suckers. He just wants to get rich. He's already a billionaire. What's the motivation behind the truth or lie? Is the motivation is to convince you that the lie is factually true. So he was spinning this story, talking about Steve Jobs, lying about him, lying about the iPhone, so forth and so on. What's the social acceptability of the truth or lie? I think that this is the worst form of unacceptability. Here's a guy who we've made him rich by using ChatGPT, and he's now out to kill all humanity, presumably except for him and his little whatever. I don't believe he's this stupid, but I think he thinks he can get out of it. So I have no idea. What label would improve this? I just said this is factually untrue. So y'all can tell that this one kind of bothers me a lot. We're going to go through the jurors, and I'd like to get a 20-30 second from each juror on their verdicts. And I apologize. I got myself even madder when I was looking up the code and realizing how much Steve really did know about AI. I knew he did, but I'd forgotten some of the reasons why, which I just explained. So juror one.
Yeah, that's me. I agree with you about Sam Altman. He has the most untrustworthy face I think I've seen of anybody who appears in the media. I wouldn't trust him as far as I could see him, really. But I understand what you're trying to say here, but I think it's too weak. This whole idea about people being responsible for AI, responsibility without power, at best it's unpleasant, and at worst it's completely useless. If you're a person, you're trying to control the power of your AI. If you're not on top of it and have enough understanding of what it's doing and being able to control and tweak all the weights and all this kind of stuff to your advantage, then it's pointless. It's not going to happen. And
I actually don't believe that.
It's going to be too.
I think that
it'd be too contrary.
I think that there'll be a lot of intermediary companies. So there are thousands and thousands of startups out there right now. They're only really using 5 or 6 of these LLMs.
Yeah.
But there are thousands of companies that are overcoming exactly what you just described, which is they're producing AI modules that can enhance the capability of surgeons, for example, or medical. They are, they're being specialized. They have to be responsible. There has to be a person responsible with them for using the ChatGPT or Grok or whatever they use. And so they have to be responsible, and you have to be responsible in selecting these guys. You can't buy something from somebody who's a known responsible agent.
You're going to have to introduce a whole new level of insurance system for everybody. Sure. Everybody can have to have insurance. This is
it's not a new level. It's just insurance, but it's the insurance. It's called liability insurance, right?
Yeah, liability. But
it's not a new level.
I seem to remember when the Google Glass was a failure because people suddenly realized that you can't have people wandering around filming everybody, filming you and your interactions and all this kind of thing. So I'm going to trust that the general mass of people will balk at the whole idea of the suggestion that Altman has of having their iPhone, or not an iPhone, but another thing completely recording it. I think the people will rebel. I trust them to rebel at any rate. Because anyway, Altman is.
It depends on how good, depends on how smart the dictatorship is.
Yeah, that's true. But all this using the cloud to record everybody's interactions is just a way of getting money. Altman's desperate for income, and this is a way of selling cloud space because this stuff is not going to be free. In spite of what Elon Musk says about the golden age of abundance for everybody, it's complete bullshit. It's all this stuff costs.
My argument is it can be, but not the way he's saying. So there has to be, people have to be held responsible, which basically means there's recourse. This is done already. Automobiles came into being with automation, and people have to have a license.
Relationship between the human action and the behavior of the automobile. It's a direct connection, and that's why the responsibility works in that kind of thing. But when it comes to AI, there's not going to be that kind of connection between what you want it to do, what it does, and how it actually.
But there can be.
You say that, but
I know they.
What are the steps by which
I will give you the standards I wrote in the
enacted.
1990s on how to do this for the European Union. There can be, but it does involve labeling. So it does involve essentially product labeling. That standardized product labeling that people certify. Individual humans who are the CEOs of the companies are certifying.
Yeah, but the AIs are going to be running the consumer operations,
Well, you-
legislation, everything like that will all be
You
run by
don't
AI.
know.
No way.
That's not allowed. That's not what I said. Humans are always
no.
responsible.
But I think,
It always goes
I mean,
through a human.
already, for example, AI is
Yeah, it's
algorithm.
skipping into that
It's-
area. That's the reason I wrote the article.
but already it's being used for court cases and for sentencing and things like that without anybody being asked whether this is a good idea or not. It's
Well,
just
they're not being held
it's going
responsible.
to be slipped into everything.
Yes, they're not being held responsible. It hadn't been decided that people have to be held responsible.
Yeah.
That's the problem. Once it's decided people have to be held responsible, these things will start working. And there is a way in which AI can have this super unbelievably good effect on everybody, but everybody needs to be everybody needs to be able to make money off of it, doing it with other people, because people are the things that are the responsible agents here.
All right. It's a nice idea, but the very price of tokens has so much higher.
That's
the
all
cost
fake.
of this.
That's fake.
It's not going to be.
That's
Sorry,
totally
what's fake?
false.
The price
of tokens. That's you mean Bitcoin things like that?
No, not Bitcoin. No, the
tokens
your
for
charge, your
yeah.
LLM
No,
charges you for the number of tokens that you have to use.
Yeah, so all that's subject to competition, but the cost to them, is really the training they have to do. So the operation of the neural networks for understanding and producing speech and reasoning and programming and all these other things, all that is cheap hardware that you can do in a phone. The training that's needed, that's what the data centers are about. And so they're charging you for the training based on the number of tokens that they can sell. And so if they sell enough tokens, the price of the tokens will come down.
Except because they have investment to pay for and all that kind of thing.
Yeah, so, but the tokens cost them nothing. Yeah, a token is free. Token per se is free. It's just like software. Software is fundamentally free. But
anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So Jura 2.
That's me. Okay, so my brain is like in a couple different areas right now because it's confusing. First, I'm fascinated by just how long the AI, the LLMs, all that stuff has been around, and it's just now coming to light. And in the chat, I had put, or me and Brian were discussing some images that we had created, and it's sad because it's almost like growing up, I heard about end times, like how the mark of the beast, the chips, all that. And where I live, this is no joke, I live in the Boot Hill, the southeastern part of Missouri. Yeah. And I see people walking around who look like zombies, who have a phone attached to their hand literally day and night. And I do put mine down to go to sleep, but it's in my hand. And it's sad because everybody is dependent on what they shouldn't be nowadays. They should be dependent on how to survive off the land or whatever, because what's going to happen whenever all this comes to light and there's no internet, period? Then what are they going to do? It's like they're setting everybody up for failure with it. So.
Oddly, there will be internet. It's just sad, but it's true. We knew this.
People might not have it.
The way we originally, just so you know, I was predicting the internet in '88 or '89. In the School of Computer Science at Carnegie Mellon, I was saying it's going to go global. We had people saying it will never go global, it will never get adopted, and all these other things. And I said that the reason that it will never go away is that the cat is out of the bag. There wasn't one way it would happen. There were thousands of ways it would happen. And so if even somebody killed 500 of them, the other 500 would still be in effect. They would still cause it to happen. And so what most people don't understand is the simplicity of the internet. It's really dirt simple. You could put the circuit for an internet in that amount of space. It's an amazingly simple architecture. It's beautiful. It's well designed. There's a group out of UCSD, University of Southern California, San Diego, who were the principal guys behind the internet. And this guy was a genius who actually did most of the fundamental design of it. I think he died a few years ago, but I want to say his name is Posner or something like that. I forgot his name. I think it was Posner. He wrote the initial definition of the internet. And because of how it was defined, it was clear that it was going to just take off. It was just going to take over everything. And it did. I had people coming up to me for years, and they would say, Bob, we never believed you.
It's definitely times I thought I would not live to see because
No,
I
you'll
knew
live to see.
how crazy it was going to be.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's so that's the reason Steve, when he got the iPhone to work, he was so proud of it because he realized he now had something that anybody could put in their pocket.
I'm
And
not partial to iPhone. I'm more partial to Android, but
it doesn't matter.
yeah.
03.
That's me, Bob. Yeah, so yeah, I didn't realize Sam Altman I didn't realize his intentions, but yeah, now that you've explained that, yeah, I think he's a dangerous person. And I think we're living in unprecedented times. I watched the movie Minority Report decades ago, and it's strange what's possible from that movie. We're living partially in that world right now. So yeah, I'm just shocked. Yeah, I think it needs to be governed and controlled. But yeah, I don't know if there is someone or a country or government responsible enough. Yeah, so that's my fear.
Yeah, so the next Thursday, the trial is going to be more about what I mean by people being held responsible. And that's the trick. If you get that, okay, everybody gets rich. Everybody on earth gets rich. People make more and more money because
Okay,
they've
that's a
got the
Robert,
assistance of
Robert,
AI.
that can't be true. It's just it doesn't make economic sense. Come on.
You sound to me just like the guys who told us that that cars will never do anything and that it won't change
No.
society because the horses, all they need to be done is fed.
That I'm not coming from that angle. But anyway, I won't
Oh,
hold up
no.
the conversation.
We should have a whole thing on it. Just do it. Okay, so that's an interesting idea. We could have a
Stuff has to
trial.
be
Like
mined.
a good
It's got to
trial
be
to make
it's got to be turned into metals and all this stuff. All this industrial activity still has to be paid for by something, and it
Yeah.
can't just because you've got a robot.
No,
which-
you're
that-
being
that's
paid.
used.
You're being paid to use the robots that you own that do these things.
I
or
don't think
you
that's what's
own
going
or
to happen.
rent,
What's
we
going to
won't call
happen
it.
is that the income and investment is going to circulate at the higher level society and won't penetrate
Well,
down
so
the
that's
level.
a scenario that there'll only be one car company. Okay. And everybody will buy the cars from one guy. That's what Henry
Yeah,
Ford wanted. It
Well,
turned out not.
okay,
General Motors
five
showed
guys.
up.
but greed and power come into play here, and everyone can't get rich.
Yeah.
There's greed and there's need for power.
So we're all richer than we would have been 100 years ago because we have cars.
Wrong.
Now, money wise, yeah, they'll be.
It's not because we have cars, it's because we have cheap energy. Scott,
Or
yeah.
cheap energy. That's another one. Yeah.
Use a different word than rich.
Can someone please direct me in that location? Please.
Which
Please
Hey,
direct me to the-
Juror 4,
Well said, Natasha.
Juror 4.
Okay. I agree totally with your, he's a liar. And the main thing is that we all should use AI as a tool and don't let them use us as a tool. Don't let AI use us. And I concede the rest of my time to juror number 5.
Okay, juror number 5.
Okay, yeah, that's me. So let's step to the side here for a second and say AI does not have personhood. AI cannot be responsible for things. Are we agreed on that?
Yes.
Okay, so that means that the person who generates the AI
Now, just to be clear, my version of AI is it's not personhood. That's true, but it is humanoid. They are humans. Okay, so they're superhumans, but they're humans.
how do you get to that conclusion?
I'm a scientist by experimentation. We built the systems I showed you the code. We were building the systems. Those are perceptrons. So what that code is, just pure perceptrons code.
Okay, then let's step away from.
And we did all of that because we believed that if we did it on a massive enough scale, this AI would start behaving like humans. And that's what we saw. Now everybody's seen it.
Does it produce waste?
So it behaves like humans.
Biologically. You can use the term sentient.
Yeah, they're sentient. They are sentient.
Sentience, human is the wrong word to use. Sentience is one thing. Human is something else entirely. So
well, so you're talking to a guy who spent his entire life, okay, figuring out how to get machines to behave like humans.
Until you can show me a machine that has to use the bathroom, I'm not going to agree.
So that's okay.
That's it.
Okay, so you can use sentient.
That's human. There's an inherently biological aspect. So if you can't reproduce that biological aspect, you can't.
Oh, no, I actually believe we could. Okay, so I believe that the neural system inside of the human is what we figured out, and the specific sensory and motor actions and so forth, the internals. We could build a human that went to the bathroom, and it would go to the bathroom like humans do.
Okay, do that, and then I'll believe that you can use the term human here.
Well, I've been told this so many years. They would say, "Give it."
What is the point? What is the point of making another human? What's the point of that?
There's a good joke about that. But
it's because I wanted to understand how the human brain computes.
You can do that with sentience. You don't have to have humanity.
Not true. I actually agree. I think that you need to be able to say, no, I can cover anything. Now, whether I'd ever want to or not is another matter, but I can cover anything. I'm covering the whole neural system.
That's nice, but without the right sensory input that mimics that of a human, you're not going to get there.
We have that with the computer vision systems. And
AI can't taste it.
We do have systems that can taste. We have built those.
But my point, to return back to the original point, is this: AI doesn't have personhood. AI is not human. And the technology may get there one day, but it ain't there today. So what we have to look at in terms of responsibility is, who are the responsible parties? Now, the Supreme Court's already addressed this, and we're seeing a trend out of the cases in the Ninth Circuit, the Third Circuit, and the Supreme Court. Yeah. And you're shaking your head. Have you been following Gonzalez?
I've been following it a little bit. Now, I'm not real happy with what I'm seeing. I've worked in the ABA for years, and I got to know the judges, the federal judges, and state judges, and a lot of the people litigating this stuff and so forth and so on. And they're stumbling with a lot of this stuff. They don't actually have a feeling. A lot of these guys don't actually have a feeling for what's going on, and so anyway, this is a long story, but the right answer is that one of the reasons I'm trying to say people have to be responsible is they need to see this in a simple way, which they can see if they think about it a little bit, that people are held responsible. That's the way the world works. It only works so well. It's not perfect. There are criminals. There are people who do bad things accidentally, so forth and so on. But people are held responsible. And we have a system of law that holds people responsible. And to my mind, it's a brilliant system of law that's roughly the same all over the world. And it's what we should be using.
I have no idea.
Yeah, what I'm saying is that AI should always just be a tool, because it could control you. It could be given the right to decide whether you live or die.
Who would give it?
No.
But right now, LLMs produce false references. They produce false diagnoses.
Right. They're human.
Who's responsible then?
The person who's using it. The person who's using it.
The person so I'm responsible, let's say, for Gemini producing a false diagnosis, which I then use.
You're as responsible as you would be if somebody sold you an oven that had a defect in it, and you wound up hurting somebody because of the oven. But you may not be responsible because the law comes in and says the guy that made the oven was the guy who's at fault.
We can do this with real world examples, which is why I'm thinking of getting far afield for no reason here. Okay, there's a case, it's Anderson v. TikTok out of the Third Circuit. It's a 10-year-old girl who died attempting a blackout challenge that was recommended to her by TikTok's algorithm.
Yeah, I remember that.
So let's think about the parties here. TikTok Incorporated, the coders who wrote the algorithm itself. Okay? So we're seeing right now is that liability for human injuries as a result of algorithmic influence is becoming more and more prevalent where the more detailed the algorithm is, the closer it approaches a personalized AI, if you will, there's greater liability on the part of the humans. That's where we're seeing the law move at this time.
Yeah.
So that's, if you want to talk about responsibility, we got to look at the real world, not what might be an artificial human 100 years from now.
I agree with that. So the point is that there needs to be a direction that we're going in over time. In that particular case with TikTok, what you said was the company, this Chinese company that made TikTok, is somehow liable. If we do the way I'm talking about, TikTok would not be able to sell their product in the United States unless the chairman of that company was personally liable. A human is responsible.
That's piercing the corporate veil. I've got no beef with that.
Yeah, I'm just saying that's what I mean when I say a human is always held responsible.
That's the only way you'll get any kind of actual humanity being from the corporation anyway. Anyway, thank you. I've taken up too much of your time. I appreciate it.
Okay. 06?
Sorry, here I am. Like Juror 4, I don't relish the idea of being turned into a robot and having all my words and impressions harvested. I don't actually, though, have any faith that humans will ever be able to use AI responsibly.
I didn't say that. I didn't say that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that they have to be held responsible. I don't think that humans today, with all the laws we have, okay, a lot of humans behave irresponsibly and get into trouble for it. Yeah, and so I'm not saying that goes away. I'm saying that when you hold people responsible, they are responsible, and there may be a penalty associated with some irresponsibility, but it's stopped as fast as the law can stop it. And if you're running a dictatorship or something, then if the government is permitting the illegal activity, then who's responsible for what gets shifted?
So you just mean that humans can be punished for misuse of it? You
Not
don't mean
punished, held responsible.
Oh, okay.
So held responsible also means you shouldn't do that. You know that, right? And you go, yes, I know that I shouldn't do that. That's holding somebody responsible.
Yeah.
And so nobody got punished then, maybe because it was.
Yeah, I think
but
that's
people
a little
hold
bit
other people responsible.
Seems awfully idealistic to me to think that people will just do what they should.
They do. I didn't say that. I said that I said they're being held responsible. I didn't say that they are responsible.
But it sounds like you're just saying that the AI companies can do what the hell they like, but if you use
they're held responsible
at your own risk. That's what I mean.
They're held responsible.
You're not applying any criteria to them.
No, we're absolutely. This is the reason that this needs to be put out. There needs to be it's basically called a labeling system. So there needs to be a set of labels that they put on their product that for which a violation of one of those labels, okay, can cause them to be held responsible for it. And it's done in car. For example, windows do that. Car windows do that. Regular windows on commercial windows are under international standards. And if you don't have those labels on those windows, you can get into real trouble putting an illegal window on a car.
Robert, can I just say too that it seems to me that AI can do humanity a lot of damage, even if it doesn't turn humans into robots. Just in the sense that it's probably the least green invention ever, is it not? The masses amounts.
No, that's not true at all. So that's a problem. And I'll go into this next week, but the expense of AI is 99.99999 it learning. it's you can
It
put
doesn't use
AI.
electricity. It doesn't use massive amounts of energy and water.
No, it uses almost no watts. If all
Well,
it's
AI
doing
just
is
told me it does.
no, it does.
I
It
just
does
asked,
in
I
the
just asked
it
AI,
didn't
and that's what it
ask
said.
it whether or not it can. So it can generate speech, act as if it's understanding and generating speech, as long as it's not asked to learn. It's not as long as the system is not trying to learn something. Okay, it's very cheap to run that. It's very cheap. What gets it really expensive really fast is you want it to learn things too. You want the weights to change in the perceptrons by experience. That gets really expensive fast. The reason is that causing the system to actually learn, actually change its state contextually on what you say, okay, or what you're asking is where it costs money. And so they'll blend these things a little bit. So I'm getting into too long of a story, but the bottom line is the simple distinction is if they learn, they get really expensive to learn fast. If they're having to learn something new from everybody they talk to, that's really expensive. But if all you've got them is you've frozen all the weights and you're just using the AI system to do name one, translate from English to French, okay, then it can be very fast and it's very cheap. It's just, but that's where the cost is. Oh, I'm sorry. So did I make sense or did not make sense? Juror 6?
I don't know. I
Okay.
don't know. I'll have to say I don't know.
Okay. But that's the problem. There's a lot of misinformation out there. I agree that the data centers need to be really huge. I disagree with this idea that you can't put AI into a phone. As long as the phone is not learning new things, you can put it into a phone. It's crazy, but you can. Juror 7?
So that will be me. So for me, AI should literally just stay a tool and not by merging humans with machines or AI. And it threatens to erase the emotional and biological foundation that allow human society to function. And human society obviously survives through empathy and cooperation. By robotization, it will risk by creating a society where humans lack emotional intelligence and will be damaging our ability to form meaningful relationships and community bonds. So that will be all. Thank you.
Yeah. So and my argument is that robotization should not be allowed to mean that the robots are running things. Everything, all economic activity is run through humans. Another way to put it. Okay, so Juror 8.
Hello. Basically, I was trying to catch up to you guys through the whole case because I did not know AI came like this long. It's been around because in the past like 10, 15 years, I've learned about AI being around. I didn't know it was such a long.
Yeah, people don't really realize how long people like me have been doing this. There's not a lot of us, so it's not as bad. Most of the people my age are dead, quite frankly. I mean,
Yeah, but
the people who had as much experience with this as I have, I don't know how many there are. There might be 100 left of us in the world, but most all of my friends that I knew are dead. They died of various things, and I'm old, but it's been around a long time. And to have somebody who can show what I did earlier, show you that we were doing this stuff back in 1991. Now, actually, I was writing it back in 1983, and I published a paper on it. And that paper's out there to read it. It's understandable that now that y'all are seeing what these perceptron systems can do, I have a hard time empathizing not because I'm not empathetic, but because I realize that this is old stuff to me. And most of these issues are old to me. And I really do have a very clear view of how we avoid most of the damage that AI can do. Even if they will be superhumans, they will be humans, they will think like humans and thereby make mistakes like humans, but they will be able to amaze humans with what they can know and what they can do and how fast they can do it, and so forth and so on. And that's what we have to worry about. And so if we don't want them killing us all, then we have to be in control of them. They cannot be in control of us. As simple as that. And that has to be in the law. Now, the law is never perfect, and it also has to be, people have to understand we're going to hold you responsible for things that where you should have known. If there's negligence, you should have known. And part of that is in product labeling and product use and product. There's a whole system that can be built that just layers on top of the existing internet system that was actually designed probably 83, 84. But it actually was made into standards or standard proposals back in the 90s. They would give us the ability to do this kind of labeling to make sure that responsibility can point back to the right parties and cannot be denied. So if the problem came from a ChatGPT product that you're using, and you do something that is bad, and it turns out it was ChatGPT's fault, we can know they did it. That's the key to all this. I think there's about 7 or 8 mainline systems of AI, Brian, and there's probably 100 minor ones out there that are all using the open source.
They're all using the open source?
Yeah, everybody's using the open source.
So the training behind Gemini is the same as the training behind Claude, is the same as the training behind...
No. The open source is the code.
Differences between the various models.
Yeah, the value is not in the code. The value is in these weighting tables, weightings.
Yeah, so it is not, in fact, accurate to say that there's just the one size fits all. There's one base, that there are huge differences between them, correct?
Absolutely. And new ones are being trained.
Correct.
And there are all kinds of, the economic activity on that right now is just astounding. The number of companies that are starting up, there's probably 5 are starting up today. And all in brilliant areas that people are figuring out ways that they can train these things to do things.
We've seen pump and dumps in crypto for years. I think we're going to see the same thing among what people claim to be AI startups as well.
Yeah, that's what there's the first tier, what I call the first tier AI guys, that are the guys that are doing the ask me anything guys. Okay.
Yeah.
And building the core tool sets that other people just use in their way they went. And then there are the specialized ones that the big guys won't do because they're just not monetarily interested in it.
Yeah.
And so you'll get the middle level companies. And there'll be a lot of those. And there'll be a lot of people that are building bad, dangerous product.
That's why it's my recommendation that anytime someone says AI, instead they pull back and say Claude, Gemini, Copilot, because that really explains a lot more about what you're doing.
Yeah, and what you just named was what I call the name label.
Yeah.
It's that's label number 1.
Yeah.
Who did it? Who did this thing? Who built this tool?
I'm with you.
Okay. So we'll see y'all next week.
All right, bye y'all.
Bye.